Okay, welcome everyone. It's the 14th of February, year 2023.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Why do we celebrate Valentine's Day? Huh? To open the heart chakra. Other days you don't need to open the heart chakra. Okay, good point. And
To celebrate love.
to celebrate love. Okay, and
To express love towards anyone.
to express love towards anybody. Yeah, so it can be anyone. Right? But someone close. It does not have to be professionals or like acquaintances. It could be anyone, right? And Saint Valentino, something like that. And
To remind ourselves that love is the main thing. Like we just forget.
to celebrate love. To celebrate love. So let's talk about what is love. What is love?
To care.
To care is love. Okay, and
The feeling which make you very happy, joyful.
feelings come and go. You can feel very loving for someone after the breakup, that person becomes the enemy. The toughest enemy. Just don't release my text or my photographs. Feelings to come and go. Love you can feel definitely, but it's not exactly. If love is very feeling, emotion based, it is very temporary. We were discussing just before that why, especially youngsters these days, have a lot of anxiety because they are so stuck to the impermanent of life. It could be wealth, it could be relationship, it could be a person, it could be a title, it could be fame. And they say in Hindu scripture that even Indra is very insecure. He also has a big anxiety. He is the king of demigods. Okay, so he is also very insecure. When will I lose my power, my title? So the more, this is like a download that I received when we were just coming. The more we are attached to the temporary, we might say we are meditating, I'm not attached, but the more anxiety you have, it shows all what's going on. So the more anxiety you have, it's like you're more attached to that impermanent stuff. So that impermanent is not love. We were taught, we were framed, there are many songs and movies who might give you a very rosy picture of love, but reality is somewhat different. Right? So if you again want to go there, but it's just in the reels, it's just in the movies. It's not even the real life of the actors there as well. Right? Hello? So, love can be felt, no doubt, but if you base love on feeling, it's very temporary. So, you can say it's like a mirage of love, you can say. It's like a mirage of love. We think that it is love. It is like the desert, you see the mirage and you're like, wow, it's water finally. And you reach there, no water, and you cry, maybe you die there. And if you're smart enough, whatever energy you have left, you will still carry on the search with. Right? So the same in life, we try to find love in the mirage. So what are the different kinds of mirage? The people, places, money, objects, situation, and these are all temporary. Right? So when you don't get it, you cry there, you can sit there for depression, enjoy food addiction, maybe enjoy abuse, but that's just a mirage. That's not the exact water that can satiate the thirst. So you carry on with the journey. So what else is love?
Unconditional emotion
Emotional energy.
of compassion.
It liberates.
Of compassion. Okay, yeah, you can define that as love because it's unconditional.
I've read. It's the glue which holds the fabric of universe.
Yes.
That is what I've read.
Yeah, it's the glue exactly. It's the glue that holds everything together in absolute order, like the earth and sun gravity calculation and the distance and the momentum and everything. Right? You can imagine there's this great power which is managing all of that, right? How can that great power not manage our life as well? The thing is, we don't allow. We try to interfere too much with the ego. This has to be done like that. This has to be done like this. And then we suffer. Once we realize that the great power is managing all of that, the entire infrastructure, the entire engineering, the entire aquamarine life and all of that, the astrophysics and all of that. Wow, it's perfectly doing its job. So the more we align ourselves to that, the more our life comes into alignment.
Liberation and acceptance at the same time.
Liberation and acceptance at the same time. How?
Because if we liberate someone from our conditions of love, it helps that person to grow or develop his or her best. But it's not always binding love.
You're providing space to the other person.
Yes.
Okay, and
Prioritizing somebody's well-being over our own expectations, अपना limited perception. So you prioritize their well-being, so you kind of शायद अंडरस्टैंडिंग में नहीं आता है कि उनका वेलबींग अगर दिमाग में है तो हम कहीं ना कहीं अपने छोटे एक्सपेक्टेशंस पे या वो हमारे जो पेटी इमोशंस कहीं ना कहीं आते हैं उसके बियॉन्ड देख पाते हैं वी काइंड ऑफ prioritize their
Unconditional. But sometimes we define love that as I love you, so you are conditioned to behave like this or that or behave.
that is conditioned love.
हाँ,
Right.
it's a
So,
condition.
prioritizing their needs over our wants ऐसा शायद I can say that.
It sounds more like a horse pie scare. Yeah, that sounds understanding. It's more like care, but love. What is love? That could be an expression of love. What you said,
You're one of it.
not the entirety of it. The entirety is as vast as spectrum. You're picking up maybe a drop. We're talking about the ocean, and not just the ocean, but we're talking about the clouds. We're talking about the rain. We're talking about the icebergs. We're talking about the waters within you, around you. We're talking at that level, even going beyond the ocean as well, so to speak. The force that is all around, right? So, some of you said unconditional love. Do you give unconditional love to yourself? Be very honest, huh?
No.
You could have
So how can we give what we don't have?
We are learning.
And we're trying to get it from outside as well.
Yeah.
Even the other person doesn't have it. It's like I want a diamond. I can give a diamond, but no one has a diamond. And when someone comes with the diamond, you're like, oh no, it's just another stone. That also happens, right? One of my friends said that there's this desi ghee in India of cow. It's very healthy. It's very nutritious. So most of us in the cities have become accustomed to the artificial kind of ghee. Right? So when you feed them desi ghee, they will have diarrhea. They won't be able to digest. They don't understand what is this. I want it, but I don't know what it is. Right? So, in order to give something to someone, you must have it first. If I give you a fruit, an apple, I have to be specific that a red apple, a green apple, a yellow apple, something like that.
And say oneness.
Yeah, oneness, but duality is also love. Oneness is also love. That's one.
Connection.
Connection is also I can't say that's exactly love, because in love the connection does not remain. In love the two doesn't remain. Connection has to happen between two people, with 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. So that's connection. But in love, when there's oneness, there's no other. I become you, you become I. In Sanskrit we say Shivo, Shiva. In Sufism we say Annada.
Aham Brahmas.
Aham Brahmasmi. So that's this frequency of love we're talking about. And any more definitions of love? Dancing around trees? Maybe. Some people think like that on Valentine's Day. Some people are missing to have a date on Valentine's Day. But that date is very permanent. It might die someday. It might be the perfect person for you, but it might die someday. Then what?
The ability to observe without judgment sometimes.
Yeah. That's
So it happens naturally. एक दो बार like after like deep meditation या कुछ कभी भी होते हैं like it happens to me lot of times कि बहुत deep meditation जब मैं बहुत ज़्यादा करती हूँ या कुछ भी ऐसे modality English. Okay. When it happens, like everything, once in a blue moon, it happens like it seems like everything belongs to me and I belong to everything. It's oneness.
Yeah.
It's universal oneness. I don't feel any difference between anything, any object, anyone.
Yeah,
I feel so much immense love inside me. Like everything becomes love. All the entire climate or anyone, any person. I don't feel any kind of hatred towards anyone or disliking. That kind of even I have some right now when you were describing love, though, only that thing came inside my mind, that oneness, universal oneness. When I can see the soul inside everyone, everything.
Yeah, that happens in deep meditation. Then that doesn't remember
It happened to me like quite many few times, like, and the whole day, like, it's a very different kind of experience. I can't like portray this
Yeah.
in words.
It seems like a different kind of
It
experience.
seems like a
You can-
Kundalini Jagran, or you can say anything like that.
You can choose to be in that state all the time. But in the world of duality, here we are. Someone is speaking, someone is listening, someone is understanding, right? We need the duality. The duality is needed. Matter and spirit duality is needed. Although it's one and the same, but that's needed. Right? Like the temperature thermometer. There's high temperature, there's low temperature. But it's ultimately temperature. But you need to play along with them, right? So we might experience oneness in our waking consciousness or in deep meditation. But we have to have that duality. And we have to maintain the grounding, so to speak, the practicality, so to speak. So it's like, you can't go in front of a lion and say, hey, I'm a vegetarian or a vegan, don't eat me. The lion will eat you, get my food, good food. Right? So we have to be aware of duality. Most of the light workers, spiritual people, I have found that they need lessons on practicality. They are very good-hearted people, very generous people and everything. But they need lessons on being practical, lessons on being street smart. And that's why they meet all kinds of people, all kinds of friendships and all kinds of relationships. And that's their medicine, that's their lessons. It's not something dirty. It's not that the other person who came was dirty. It's just that they required these lessons to have a boot on their feet. Right? Okay. And what is love?
If we operate ourselves in love, fear automatically releases or dissolves.
The question is, what is love? We're trying to understand what is love
The
here.
reflection of love, fear.
Okay. Okay. Inverted reflection of fear is love. Okay.
Yeah. And ego always hides or releases when we operate.
Ego?
Ego.
Uh-huh.
There is no ego
There is no ego.
when we are in total surrender in love.
There is no ego when we have total surrender and love. Did you experience that ever?
Yeah.
Okay, deep
This
meditation.
is only divine for divine love.
Okay, divine love.
It's a liberation.
Love is light, is illumination, you can say.
It's joy.
Unconditional joy, bliss, which is not connected to the outside, which is not connected to a person or an object or a situation or a title or anything outside. Not connected even to weed or ayahuasca, which many people like to experiment with magic mushrooms. This is very conditional, right? And in fact, the funny thing is, it's not even connected to any kind of meditation technique either. You might do 1000 chakra meditation, 1000 kundalini meditation, whatever, but it just is. The point of spiritual awareness, growth of spiritual awareness, is realizing what is. Realizing what already is, rather than trying to achieve something. Right? When you're trying to achieve something, that's the game of the mind, that's the linear game. But love is a very multidimensional existence. So ego, someone mentioned the word ego here. What is ego?
I.
I. Are you sure?
every, I, we, us,
She's like, I got caught.
anything.
I think it's.
Are you sure you are his ego?
I feel.
That's why when she said there's no ego in love, when we usually say love, it's I love you. It's always ego. And it's me who loves something. So I think there's always ego of sorts in the materialistic world, not the divine love.
Okay, let me add one more word here. We'll move into that later. There's something called as the self and the ego. So are these two the same or different?
Different. Because ego is defense mechanism to protect self from the perceived danger outside.
Yes. It's like an egg,
Yes.
eggshell. Right? And the self is?
Ego belongs to the personality.
Ego belongs to the personality. Whatever you thought you are as a man, woman, as a community person of particular race, of particular experience, with particular traumas, experiences, whatever.
Self is beyond all that.
Self is beyond all of that. Good. And?
It's pride also.
Pride is ego. Okay. Pride is ego. What about self-esteem? Is it ego or self?
It's ego.
It's ego.
But even pride is
Self is
Self-esteem is not ego.
setting preferences.
Setting preferences. That's ego or self?
Self.
Self. More towards self.
Self-esteem is, I think, recognition and acknowledgement of who you are in the true sense, beyond your personality, beyond people's imposed images on you. It's beyond.
Self-esteem is
Wait, I'm
the
just
reflection of self-esteem is a reflection of the self within the ego.
Very interesting. It could be possible.
Reflection.
Self.
Reflection of self in the ego.
Within the ego.
It's like your eye is capturing the entire room. It's not the entire room, but your eye is capturing that. Right? It's like the reflection of the moon can be captured in a vase, in a vessel filled with water. Silent water. That too silent water. Right? So it is not having the entire moon, but good definition. Good. So self-esteem is the reflection of the self in the ego, we said. And that too happens properly when the ego is settled. If the ego is going around, which is always goes around, this is not there, that is not there, always complaining and bitching about things. I don't know why they put about bitching about so bad. Like, why they can't make it dogging? I think they have it somewhere, but bitching is more common, I guess.
Because bitch is a female and
Yeah.
females are
They want to put them
just
down.
believe that females actually bitch.
Yeah, and male bitch are more. I mean, that's what research says. I'm not saying. Men tend to gossip more.
Nowadays we see that.
I'm not saying it recording the research. Go and see the research. Don't come to me on my YouTube comments. So, what is the ego?
Absence of surrenderness is
Absence of surrenderedness.
Yeah.
What kind of surrenderedness you're talking about? Surrenderedness are two types. Like you're fighting a war and you give up. That's surrender. Or you are a small baby and you are in the arms of your mother or the arms of your lover. That's surrender. So what kind of surrenderedness you're talking about?
in doing.
What kind of surrenderedness you're talking about? I said there are two types of surrender. One is losing the battle, giving up the weapons and letting the other do whatever they want to do with you. The second is being in your mother's arm as a small child, as an infant, or being in your lover's arm, surrender. Not being defensive or trying to think that he or she might be stabbing at your back, which does happen at times. Because that's the ego-based love.
Surrender, I think not being attached to the results.
Okay. Doing what you are supposed to do but not being attached to the
Not being
results.
attached
Okay.
to the results.
Ego is also illusion of control.
Good. Ego is illusion of control. If I am not there, something might happen. There's this wonderful story now of the two lizards, wall lizards. So outside there was a wonderful rain going on, so they both hid inside the big bungalow. And after some time the sunshine came out. And the lizard A said to lizard B, wow, let's play in the green grass. So the lizard B says, no, I'm not going to go out. If you want to go, you go. And the lizard A says, why you're not going outside? The lizard B says, well, if I go outside, the terrace might fall. That's the ego. It thinks it is the one which is managing everything, but no, there's this cosmic force which is inspiring all areas of life of a human being, be it politics, be it media, be it arts, be it science. All the so-called geniuses in each field, they do not actually bring out the ideas. The devas or the angelic beings, whenever the time is prepared for humanity to receive those kind of structure or ideas or models, they inspire that in their brain and then they operate on it. So we recognize that they are the one who was the inventor of so and so, but it's not like that. It's already there. It's
They are
already,
just the carrier.
they're just the carrier, they're just the messengers, they're just the channels.
Channels.
Yeah.
Surrender is that, for me, surrender is that I'll accept everything in his orders, whether it is good or bad.
His order means your husband's order?
No, not his. No ways.
What do you mean by his order? Why not her order?
Almighty.
Almighty.
Ah.
Okay. Almighty.
Unsurrenderness means ego is there when you feel that you are a karta.
I'm the doer.
Lack
Yes.
of believing God, I think,
Hmm.
not recognizing the God power,
Yeah, not recognizing God power, that is also.
not believing God power is ego.
Not believing.
Ego is aging.
Even you can say, now that's another level of discussion you have brought in.
Yeah.
Not believing in God, but people who believe in God, they cause more suffering to the world. You might see there are very silent ethics going on, and they are more spiritual than the so-called top authorities of different kinds of religions. Now you have brought another story. Write this down. Write this down.
Not believing in God.
Not believing in God is even just write it down. You give me a masala. Some news.
Ego is aging God out. Ego, edging God out.
Edging God out. Okay. Thinking that God is outside, somewhere upwards in heaven. Or maybe in the temples, or maybe only in the holy places.
Or even if you do something, I have done this, means I'm
Yeah.
edging
When you're
God
living in
out.
a
You are not giving credit to God.
If
You are
I'm doing
edging out God.
something, I feel I do. So I'm edging God out of my life. So that is ego.
And you're living in separation, always in separation.
When you're living in separation. Okay. But we are living in separation, we have different bodies.
But still, like, all the time you feel ki you're separated from the Almighty God. Like, you're not in oneness.
Ego. Let's say you don't believe in God. How can that be ego?
Yeah.
I'm not
We'll come to that.
So always we feel that we are separated from this world. We are
Disconnect.
so like powerful. Like we are separated from God. We just
The root of all kind of war is basically separation.
separation.
When you realize that I'm separate from you.
Separate.
When there's oneness, so
Oneness. Then there's no conflict.
Hmm.
Just oneness.
My wants are more important than your needs.
हाँ,
So what is ego?
Lower version of ourselves.
What do you mean by lower version of ourselves?
The instinctual part.
Instinctual part, animalistic tendencies and all of that. And
Survival instinct.
survival instinct.
The reptilian-
Instinct itself is very innocent. Instinct. The word instinct in itself is very innocent. We have given a very bad name to different kinds of instincts. It could be hunger, it could be sexual needs, it could be wanting to have a company, it could be wanting to sing, it could be wanting to dance, it could be wanting to celebrate, it could be wanting to have security for your family, or maybe store some food and stuff for your family. That's instinct. Instinct could, so that's natural instinct, and we have lost our touch to it. Instinct is a very innocent thing. It's a very innocent thing. I don't want to give examples here in the recording. I can give a lot of money and weird examples, but I want to put quality there. Instinct itself is very organic, very natural, nothing wrong about it. Anyway, what else?
As far as my experiences are concerned with people who have real ego issues, I have seen them that they use it as a shield, a protective shield, so that people don't actually tap on their real self. And mostly these people are badly wounded. And they have.
They don't want others to come near them.
Yes.
Or give them full access to their heart.
Yes.
Even if they provide some, they will again push on them.
Even if they are in love, they won't give 100% in love. They are scared of something. They keep themselves protected.
The other person might have more power to harm
Yes.
me.
Fear of
And if the other
Vulnerability.
person gets
Commitment
access,
phobia.
if the other person gets access to the egoistic person directly, or try to find out issues that he already knows, he or she already knows, they get more, they go backwards, they take step back. कि अच्छा मेरा ये जोन भी वो एक्सेस करने लग रहे हैं, तो फिर वो उस शील को और ज़्यादा प्रोटेक्टिव कर देते हैं
because they're scared.
और थिक कर देते हैं.
Because they're operating from the ego. No?
And then they have a backup also.
मैंने ये भी देखा है कि if a person जैसे इस पॉइंट पे पहुंच गया कोई रिलेशन, that if they have reached to this point of relation, then they will create a distance from the other person who is giving unconditional love or coming close to that person, and then they will have one more person in their life, so that they will develop some intimacy there, so that what they want they can gain from that also.
Yeah. So that's the ego. Now wanting to be fulfilled from the outside.
Yeah.
That's the ego. Love
But
or
they are
the
big time suckers.
yeah.
They suck a lot of energy of other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's so empty inside. Now the ego is very
It's a
empty.
narcissist kind
The
of.
ego, yeah, the egoistic person can end up with the narcissistic tendencies,
Yes.
and the ego is very empty. You know, whatever you give to the ego, it will keep digesting it like a black hole, and nothing is fulfilled there. Nothing. And the funny thing is, they might be appearing to have everything in the name or whatever that one may desire at all levels, but still they will be very empty people.
Well, they will be manipulating the first person also and the second person also.
Just for their own benefit.
Yeah, and they don't realize they are doing it.
Yeah.
They are thinking that they are very generous.
So when the other two people want to question him or her, they would again, say that you are the one who's coming too close or something like that.
So it's to like hide their inferiority complex.
Yes,
People
yes.
pretend to be egoistic because they want to hide their complex.
People with a very bad self-esteem tend to have those pride kind of issues or look down upon you kind of energy. Because they're already feeling so down. So they think that by just mentally, not even talking, just mentally thinking this person is less than me. His or her is not better than me. Something like that, something silly like
Always
that.
in a comparative.
So, yeah, because they have that much of insecurity, that much of low self-esteem. People with very good self-esteem, they will put you up. They won't put you down. If you find someone they're always putting you down, you're not good enough, anyone, that's the ego issue. Because at the core they're not feeling good. So they also want you to not feel good. If you have fresh apple, you will have fresh apple. If you have a rotten apple, you will have a rotten apple. Right?
They always seek approval from outside.
They always seek approval from outside. That
Secretly.
Secretly, very true. Secretly.
clandestine affairs, what do you call it? Clandestine or clandestine, how do you pronounce that?
Both. Clandestine is
It's both.
better.
Clandestine. Clandestine affairs.
What will be the ego of baby at one day?
Separation. I am separate from God. Usually they say, Paramahansa Yogananda in his book says that when the baby is born, most of the babies tend to cry. Okay? And it's usually like in this posture. So the soul is remembering the heaven as it's crying, God, why did you separate me from you?
That is the ego.
Yeah. That is baby's ego from day one. Even from the point of conception, all the way from previous life. And that is again another topic of ego.
Does it mean that ego is from left brain and our knowledge? If you don't have any knowledge on left brain?
Left brain.
Ego means left brain.
Yeah, very good connection.
If we have zero brain, zero data, zero memory, then we are absolute with the right brain.
Surrender.
And
Very beautiful, wonderful. Claps for him. That's why we do so much of NLP work and chakra work and healing work and hypnosis work. We're trying to raise that memory. and undoing all those conditioning that the masters would say.
Even the memory of separation we are undoing.
Yeah. So when you're on the spiritual pathway, you are undoing that. So you might be extremely generous with someone, and people might say, "Oh, you're a Mahatma, you're divine, so you're giving so much to society." So it's quote unquote non-human for them. In other words, non-egoistic for them. For you, it could be very natural because you're on the path of ascension. You are now no longer being a human being, so to speak. You are merging with an infinite source of love. So,
Any kind of pride?
yeah, we have discussed about it. Okay, enough of the ego. So, is ego required or not?
Yes, a bit of it is required.
Yes. No? Yes? No?
Yes.
Yes.
We must make awareness.
Huh?
We don't need
That's again ego, na? I want to bow.
Yes.
I want to have approval. I want to be respected. That's again ego.
You cannot do your karma without ego. Correct? If you are here on the earth for karma, you have to have ego with yourself.
Even great saints have
Because
to
the-
put on that ego.
The ego is like a food or a fuel for the karma.
Ego is the necessary evil. Just like in science you read, friction is a necessary evil. We're sitting here because of friction. We're not slipping everywhere. Friction is a necessary evil. In the same manner, ego is a necessary evil. Okay. So if you're trying to get rid of it, forget, you won't be able to. But if you learn to operate it with consciousness, with awareness, as she said, then that's where the game happens. That's where the alchemy
That's
happens.
what we call as positive ego.
Yeah, you can say that. Positive ego, you can say that. So, okay. And now again, ego is a different workshop altogether. We might do someday. ego is a long history. They say that the point when you were conceived as separate from God, going beyond so-called past incarnations, further back in time, maybe from since the beginning of time, maybe so to speak. Beginning of time. Can you imagine? Beginning of time. What does it mean? So that's the ego. That's where it happened, and then time happened, and then incarnations happened. Anyway, so what is the self now? What is the self?
Self is your true being.
Your true being, your true nature. Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Right? Beauty, truth, and Shiva. Shiva is beauty and the truth, life. The one that cannot be defined, but it is. It goes beyond the mind. So what is the self? Don't copy paste me.
It's the perfect answer.
Hello? What is the self?
The God particle within you.
Within who? God particle within you, but within who? Within the ego you are saying.
God itself.
Yes. Yeah.
The real you that you tend to explore,
Yeah.
to meet.
Yeah. And just as you said that I experience it sometimes. That's the real you. So self is love. Self is love. Self is love. Okay. So ego operates on fear, self operates on love. So when you are recognizing that I am the self, I am that I am that I am. I'm not the body, I'm not the emotion, I'm not my past, I'm not my career, I'm not my profession, I'm not what happened to me or what I did to others. That's where the self comes in. And when the self comes in, and from that space when you operate as the ego, yeah, I did this, I facilitated this prayer meeting, I facilitated this charitable organization. That's where the game happens. That's where the balance happens. So your self is your true nature. We tend to forget it. We think, and we tend to get experiences of the self, in meditation, as she said. When you are deeply in love with someone, you get the glimpse of that. And this is one of the reasons why people tend to get addicted to people. They're like, I don't want to play with you anymore. I don't want to talk with you anymore. No, how can you? I'll come with you. Something like that. You become addicted to them. But why? Because The other person simply acts as a trigger for the self to shine through the darkness. So if you can imagine, the ego is like a dark chamber. So love, unconditional love, whenever you experience that through meditation or maybe with the other person, so it's like the hole in the ceiling, from where the sunlight or the moonlight comes in. And because your light itself, you are drawn to it. Your love itself, you are drawn to it. And you think that the other person is doing that. But it's just a tiny. Or you can choose to just step out of the dark chamber and just be in light. Be in love. And the other person may come or not, it doesn't matter. They talk about Lord Krishna as an embodiment of love and Radharani as they say that she was the favorite one of Lord Krishna. And there were many other gopis, many other lovers of Lord Krishna. You know why Lord Krishna preferred Radhaji's company? Why?
Because she was not attached to him.
Because she was not attached to him. She was like, I and Krishna are one. I am full on my own. I and Krishna are one already. Right? So she did not want his physical courting company like that.
But she tried to stop him, no, when he was leaving for Vrindavan.
Yeah. Because she at that point did not realize. At that point when she was trying to stop him, she did not realize, she did not reach that level of realization that she is one with Lord Krishna. But of course, when he left, he was established within herself anyway.
She was so much in love with him that she would always keep crying. इतना प्यार मतलब कि भर के वो आंसुओं से निकल जाता.
Yes, absolutely. So she was connected to the essence of Krishna, that's love. That was her self, you can say. Krishna is the self of Radha. Krishna is the self of Radha. But anyway, these divine beings also do Leela, and they want to do Leela. So crying and thinking, doing those activities like I'm missing you or you should not go out there. But they are doing it with a lot of consciousness. There's a very interesting story by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He talks about the ego of someone who is enlightened. Okay, the ego of someone who is enlightened is like this. You might be having house helpers in your home, right? But they might be working 3, 4, 5 houses. So when let's say when he or she is coming to your home, your house help, if they meet a friend or someone, relative, and they would ask, where are you going? That person would say, I'm going to my home for work. I'm going to my home for work. But they know within that it's not their home. Are you getting that? That's my home where I work. But they know that it's not their home, so to speak. So that is the ego of the enlightened ones. They might use the word, they might do the leela, so to speak, but they're not attached to it at all.
The aspects of you that you identify with God as self, and anything, if you start identifying with object, people, places and situations, that is ego.
Yes, that is temporary and that gives you anxiety. It gives you wings. Wings here and here and here everywhere. And sometimes these wings could keep vibrating for maybe incarnation, even in your astral world after death.
In Sufism they say this, any kind of love, if it doesn't come out of the love for beloved, the ultimate source, if it is not coming through that, it is ego. It is bound to be taken away.
Yeah, it is bound to give you suffering.
Rumi.
It's bound to give you suffering. So, Valentine's Day, we are here to celebrate the self. We are here to celebrate the self, right? Hello? We are here to celebrate the self.
Not the guy.
Not the not the guy, not the girl.
Not the guys.
And not the cow.
Basically, not anything that is outside you. We are not bashing others, but if you're lucky enough to meet that kind of guy or girl, that's another story. But it's about the self. Valentine's Day is about the self. The society is conditioned us that the Valentine's Day is about the outside. So that's the self. Now let's come to the point where she said that not believing in God is ego. Why do you think like that?
Words was not proper for that. I was saying when we forget that everything is happening according to the God
Will.
then ego comes there actually. That was my point.
Where you feel that you are abandoned by God. Okay, yeah. Basically, the interesting thing is, Bhagwan Gautam Buddha, he said that desire is the root of suffering, something like that, right? But we have a different perspective. We'll discuss about it some other day, very vast topic. But how many of you want to get rid of suffering? Everyone wants to get rid of suffering? You don't want to get rid of suffering? Why did you say?
Because
You are
that's
thinking
so
that
obvious.
resides.
Because that's so obvious.
I was thinking that is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. That's the ego game. That's the ego game. All the suffering. See, pain is inevitable, but pain is something that will just like I said. Many spiritual people, their lesson is to become street smart, become more grounded with money, with people, with politics and power, and all of that, power play, all of that. But suffering. You want to know the source of suffering? Have you heard about the beautiful story of Mahabharata? There's this character called as Bhishma Pitama. And then Bhishma Pitama had this boon to die at his will. So at the end of the war, by the end of the war, Arjun pierced so many arrows on him into his body, right? And then he was just lying down. He was waiting for the right time to transition. He had this boon of Ichamriti, leaving at his will. Okay? So what does that represent?
Ego.
Yes. Claps for him again. So Bhishma Pitama, the story represents the ego. Arjun putting all these arrows is like you and me, the sadhaks, who are pointing out the arrows of jnana, of knowledge. This is not true. This is not true. I am not the body, I am not the emotion, I am not my past, I am not my dreams, I am not whatever people thought of me or say about me. All these are arrows. So these arrows, when the sadhak uses the knowledge or discernment as they call it, vivek as they call it, right? When the sadhak uses those arrows of knowledge, so what happens is your ego is pierced. And your ego is ichamriti. The ego will be like, okay, you might have learned the lesson here. Let me go to another area and then trigger you. Haven't you noticed that? Maybe you are struggling about finances with something and the finance is settled and then suddenly something else happens at the office in terms of how people treat you. Maybe that is also settled, then again the finance won't come up. Maybe both are settled and something happens in the home front. Maybe also settled, something happens with your health front. That's your ego. Trying to do things and keep you busy.
So that's stubborn.
And when all of that is settled, then okay, my son or daughter is now of the age. Let them get married. And then something is wrong with their partner. And even if that is settled, something is wrong with the children. And by the time you kick the bucket, you're gone. You didn't have time for God or yourself. Right? So that is what? That is the ego. Right? So, now the story of Bhishma Pitama, waiting for the Uttarayan time. It's about the sun going into particular those astrological alignments. Shifts. It's in northern direction, Uttarayan. It's also time when they say it's the day of heaven. In the demigod kingdom, the Indra and all of that. That's where he chose to leave his body. So what does the Uttarayan represent?
Sun energy.
Sun energy. And Uttarayan, the answer is in the word itself. The energy going to the north. Well, it is said that in the Holy Bible, when the three wise men were trying to figure out where Jesus is born, they were following the northern star. The northern star. What is the significance of the north?
Light.
Divine energy. Divine energy. This is not This is not. When you're meditating, the divine energy comes from here. It doesn't come from here. Something else comes from here or goes out from here, right? But this divine energy comes from here. When you meditate, right? Even at the Kundalini at the base level, it doesn't go down when you meditate. It has to go up, north. So that is your Uttarayan. Hello? This is your Uttarayan. So when you have your proper Uttarayan alignment and you have used all the sutras or principles given by an enlightened master or from yourself, at the proper time, at the proper light comes in, the ego finally vanishes. In the Holy Bible, it is represented by the crucifixion of the Christ, Lord Christ. Right? When he was crucified, although he was so much at one with God and knowing that he is the Son of God, he said one time, he said, Lord, why thou hast forsaken me? Lord, why thou hast forsaken me? Even a being like Lord Christ was doing this Leela. Right? Lord, why thou hast forsaken me? Why you have left me? Why you have abandoned me? But anyway, he finally said, let thy will be done. So Ram said that thy will be done. I've done my enough stuff. Try to do healing and change people or whatever. Let thy will be done. And finally, and then what happens? He is resurrected. He is born again. He is resurrected. Hello? In the alchemical tradition, you talk about the phoenix rising from the ashes. Phoenix lives in the old body. When the phoenix is very powerful, when the phoenix grows very old and finally dies, it is said that it rises from its own ashes. So the ego is like a shell or like an eggshell. In the proper conducive atmosphere, the heat of wisdom and knowledge, bhakti and love, kundalini, whatever you call it, it has to be incubated. Okay? And from that, once it breaks, you realize the self, the infinite self, the God self, whatever you want to say. So, Bhishma Pitama, waiting for the Uttarayan, is the energy going up. So, knowledge itself is not enough. Knowledge itself is not enough to give you enlightenment or the experience of the self or God, whatever you call it. You have to use it, keep using it, make sure it's stuck in your head. That's what happened with Bhishma Pitama, right? That's what happened with Jesus Christ. The nail was stuck in his body. It was not that the nail was screwed in and screwed out, screwed in, screwed out. With Bhishma Pitama, the arrows were used and they were stuck there. And many arrows were used. In the same manner, as a spiritual warrior, the jihad, that holy war, has to be done within. Right? So when you use the arrows and make sure they're implanted there, not here, not right, Just to give you some fun examples. Like now you know the background of the story. Maybe now you learn that money is not the source of evil. Let's use a different example. Okay, so Valentine Day, so we will use very bad examples. The other person is, let's say you learn that the other person is not the source of your joy. Okay. Now the Guru has given you a sutra. It says that anytime you find a very attractive boy or girl, and if you feel like just giving away your heart, even when you see the red flags, try to imagine them after 20 years. Try to imagine them 20 years, just in front of you. So the skin might be very good and nice or whatever. After 20 years, the skin almost like a skeleton, something like that. 30 years, 40 years, whatever. So the Guru has given you that arrow. So now you're going around the happy Valentine's Day. Okay, the other guy or girl is not my attractive guy or girl is not my source of joy, happiness. And then your ego comes in, wow, what a good person, attractive person, and now you have the arrow. It's up to you to use it or not again. It's your free will. You can again do the same mistake and come back again. Guruji, I have not used my. The arrows with you, what do you call that? Where you keep the arrows? What do you call that? It's a particular term for that, right? Where you store that. So these sutras of knowledge, these formulas of knowledge. So you have to use this and
Cupid strikes.
yeah. So you have to use it. And then you realize, okay, yeah, the other person might be very attractive. Okay, that's fine. but I'm not supposed to think that this person is going to be my source of joy. Right? So that's one arrow. Now, maybe you have used the arrow, midnight you're sleeping, next morning you wake up and there's a good morning my darling message from that same guy or girl. And you again don't use that arrow, you won't have anything. The arrow has to go and be stuck there. You have to be as brutal like that. Okay, good morning, okay, fine. Maybe you want a friendship, maybe you can think about it, but you are not my source of joy. You are not my source of ease or the reason to live, as they say in the die-hard romantic songs. You are the only reason to live.
ये आपको कैसे बात दुनिया में रखा क्या?
These kind of songs are so misleading.
Yes, because they come from the artists who are very much identified with the ego.
They make us slaves.
That's why they make this slave. And this is the game of Maya. This is the game of ego. The ego, if you have watched the movie Matrix, how many of you have watched that movie Matrix? Okay? So there's this particular agent, right? There's a name. What's the name of the agent? Who is like the automated artificial intelligence. So in second part of the movie, he's seen everywhere. In the first part it was just one person. It appears as one. In the second part when he comes to try to fight the Neo, so he's everywhere. So suddenly there might be 100 people around and then when he's fighting everyone becomes that agent. That is the game of ego. So ego, the interesting thing is ego is not just me or I'm trying to struggle with my identity. Ego is everywhere. That's what she said. It's trying to hypnotize you. You get this cream, you will be successful. You put on this deo, you will be successful. Or you bring this diamond to your wife, you will add love to your married life or whatever, or something like that. That's just the ego game. So we have to understand the ego game. So how do we understand ego game? By trying to criticize it? No. That is again another ego game. That is another ego game. Right? It's like a maze, it's like a parable. What's the word for the paheli? It's not
Puzzle.
Puzzle. It's like a puzzle. Not parable, it's a puzzle. Right? So we keep getting stuck there. So once you have these arrows of knowledge, this divine knowledge, not just knowledge, but divine knowledge. So you have to shoot it, put it there in its place. So going back to an example, so when the girl messages you next morning, you're like, okay, fine. I'm also open to see other people, including myself. So now, especially girls, do you feel the freedom within yourself? Like, wow. Right? So that's what happens. So when you use the divine sutra, the knowledge, it's not just once, you have to constantly use it. It becomes like a second nature. Hardcore training. They say that being a spiritual warrior is tougher than being a soldier at the physical field. Because there are so many enemies. And these enemies are all so familiar. And they're like your cousins, they're like your family, they're like your grandparents, they're like your teacher. That's what Arjuna was confused in the battlefield. He's like, I will just give it up. I don't want this war of justice, Krishna. I will accumulate so much of sin. And these are all my people. That's what happens with the sadhaka. These are all my people.
Forgive.
Yeah, these are all my belief systems. These are all my beliefs. This belief came from my grandparent. This belief came from my mother. This belief came from my cousin. Let them be. Because I have been familiar with them. I have been living with them since my childhood. And Krishna says, no, use the arrow. For dharma, you start this war. This jihad. Start this war. Establish dharma, to restore dharma. And then things happen. But again, was Arjun able to do this on his own? Yes, no? No. He required the assistance of Lord Krishna being his guide. Right? And you know who else was there in Arjuna's chariot?
Hanuman.
Yes, Hanumanji. So it is said that by the time when the war ended, even Lord Krishna was sitting himself there. When Arjuna and Krishna finally came down out of the chariot, and Lord Krishna said, wow, this was a great war. And he said, yes, it was all your blessings. But he said, do you know that this was literally a nuclear war? It was a nuclear war. Okay? Even especially in the deep excavations of Mesopotamia and other places, they have found these batteries. Our ancestors knew about batteries and nuclear power already. They have those evidences, you can Google that. But they don't know how they knew it, the radioactivity and all of that. So that nuclear stuff was there. So we said that so powerful warriors were there, they used all kinds of technology and divine astras and all of that. But your chariot seems fine. And Arjuna says, yes, my lord. So Lord Krishna says, it's not because that you were skillful. It's because Lord Hanuman himself was staying at a chariot. And then he asked Lord Hanuman to show himself appear. And when Lord Hanuman appears finally, the chariot crumbles to the dust. So when the devotee or the seeker is using the divine arrows, he or she is not doing it alone. If he or she thinks, I'm so smart, gone. The nuclear war, gone like a second. So when you're constantly in alignment, receptive and conducted to the divine energy, always, Uttarayan, always hearing that Krishna is your voice of your conscience. Krishna is the voice of your conscience, always telling you what is right, what is wrong. You can choose to hear it, you can choose not to hear it. But he's your friend, he or she will always be there.
What is Hanuman?
Lord Hanuman is divine protection. When you walk on the spiritual pathway, you need spiritual strength. Just like when you want to lose weight, you need that inner strength to have the motivation to keep doing what you're doing so that you lose weight. In the same manner, in order to continue on your spiritual pathway, it's not just enough that you get a guru, that you get the divine teachings, that you want to follow, that you generate good karma. That is not enough. You again need grace. And that grace is inner strength, the divine strength, that will keep pushing you. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Those of you who have done the tracking, you might have seen your leaders asking you, keep going. Okay? It might feel tough, keep going. So that Lord Hanuman is the inner strength, is also grounding as well. Grounding and inner strength. If the Kundalini energy is not properly activated, the body can go into spontaneous combustion. There is a scientific phenomenon. Spontaneous combustion. Nothing outside happens. Something happens within the circuitry and the person gets born. Spontaneous combustion, they call it. So the spiritual energy that is coming down is very powerful. When you're on the spiritual path, you're technically worshipping the power, the Shakti. Right? So that power is handled by the divine beings. They calibrate your chakras, they calibrate your aura. So Lord Hanuman was a calibrator, he was calibrating everything. So if you're in your ego again, I'm so smart, I'm so knowledgeable, I have read so many scriptures, and you start, doing a show off of your so-called religious or spiritual knowledge, and then you try to have the arrow. The last arrow that will remain is the arrow of ego. Ego is the last obstacle on the pathway of the spiritual seeker. When the ego is gone, you are merged with the self, or you become godlike, you become a divine. People start to see or sense that light just by being in your presence or just even thinking about you, because you are so connected to that light. You will be like a flower, a beautiful flower that has a wonderful sweet sense, and there are other spiritual seekers wanting the same. They will come around you. You will want to have that nectar, drink from that nectar, so to speak. So what is a wonderful song about Radha Rani? मीठे रस से भरोड़ी राधा रानी लागे, राधा रानी लागे, मने कारो कारो यमुना जीरो पानी लागे, ओ मने कारो कारो यमुना जीरो पानी लागे. So this song indicates that, Yamuna, the water of Yamuna at that time, now God bless Yamuna, people are still doing some things about it, but needs to be brought in perfect condition, more aligned condition. At the time of Lord Krishna, it is said that Yamuna's water was very holy. It was equivalent to Ganga, and it was very sweet. It was known to be very sweet water, the water of Yamuna. So this bhajan says that Radharani is so much filled with divine nectar that even the sweet water of Yamuna, of the river Yamuna, seems like salty. So there's something, so you can say that the water of Yamuna is like the pleasures of the world. The water of Yamuna is like the pleasures of the world. The different kind of sensory pleasure that we get from singing, hearing, smelling, tasting, being intimate with someone, all of that, touching. So that is the water. But Radharani, the rasa, the divine nectar of Radharani is the nectar of enlightenment. It's the nectar of the absolute self. So that's what we are aiming for now. Right? That joy, that sweetness. Okay? So the ego feels very scared about where will I get the sweetness. Am I supposed to not expect from others? Now that comes the next question. Am I not supposed to expect from others? We have two viewpoints usually. One says expect a lot, it's family or whatever, close people. Other says do not expect anything. Most of us tend to go into there, I do not expect anything, I'm on my own. But there's also trauma response. The pathway is somewhere in the middle. For those of your parents, one day you are tired and you ask your child, can you give me a glass of water? You will want to have a glass of water. That's expectation. That's practicality. Right? Hello? So expectations you cannot ignore, you cannot deny. They will be there. Point is when there's too much expectation. The absolute healing happens somewhere in the middle way. Absolute healing happens of the expectation trauma somewhere in the middle way. Okay? It's not there, I don't expect anything. I stopped expecting anything from people, people hurt me. This is trauma response. I'm on my own, I'm an empowered person. Hyper independence. It's a codependent word. The word is not right, codependent. It's interdependent word. Interdependent
This
word.
is also a form of ego.
Yes, it's another form of ego. I'm a self-made person. I did not know. No one helped me. I'm a self-made person. This is one of the reasons why they say that why to have a spiritual teacher. The spiritual teacher makes sure that you don't have the ego. Sculpts you from the rock.
The rigidity and stubbornness is also ego.
Rigidity, stubbornness. So self is love, ego is fear. Okay. Now one statement that came through was I. He said I is the ego. Are you sure I is the ego?
Depends which way you framing it now. Framing it as ego or self.
Yeah. It could be small I or the capital I. So if you do not have a guru mantra or anything, you can just meditate on I. You'll be it. I. So in the path of self-inquiry, there is this wonderful method. It says, who am I? Meditate on who am I? Who am I? But since most of you are pretty advanced, like you have gone through these kind of exercises before, the next thing that you can do is just chant I. Not Soham, just I. Soham is still I am that. I am that. That is Soham. I am that infinite power. But just I. In Hindi, we have this word for I as मैं. So when you do a मैं quote,
Aham.
मैं. You will be very fit to be offered as kurbani. You will be very fit to offer as a sacrifice. The point of ego bursting on any spiritual pathway is the bursting of the ego. Ego is very limited. You know why so-called saints end up with miracles and different kind of so-called divine or superhuman powers? Because the ego becomes lesser and lesser, and the limitations start getting lesser and lesser. Like that. So that is love. That is the self. So again, what is love? Love is self. Love is self. So even the word self-love feels like small here, right? Self-love feels very small here. Although self-love is important in the same way. when you might get further, like self is love or love is self.
Love is eternal.
Love is eternal, infinite, immortal. Whatever kind of qualities you attach with God is merciful, is powerful, is the all-ruling, is the almighty,
All same.
Compassion.
all-seeing, all-compassionate, omnipotent, omnipresent,
Creator and the destroyer.
omniprovident, yeah?
The creator and the destroyer.
The creator and the sustainer and the destroyer, the ultimate ruler of all, the king of kings, or the queen of queens.
Two names, Vatu Izzu Mantasha, Vatu Zillu Mantasha. You are the one who gives honor, you are the one who dishonors.
Yes.
The both.
Yes, absolutely. The ultimate darkness and the ultimate light. And the beginning, Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So that is yourself. So, yeah. So we try to keep ourselves busy with learning new things and doing a lot of things. But if you want to invest in something permanent, it would be the self. It's okay to try to have a particular income and particular influence and whatever. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. As far as you do it very consciously with a lot of awareness. But our main priority has to be the self, finding that self. Now, I am not saying that you are supposed to have the main priority. I am just saying that we are already doing it. Hello? We are already doing it. In the name of love, I will go to drink with my friends and get high. In the name of love, I will go and attend that music festival and enjoy the music of that wonderful artist. In the name of love, I will read that wonderful novel and wonderful literature and amazing characteristics. In the name of love, I will watch that movie. In the name of love, I will be intimate with that person, or maybe many persons. I don't know what is your thing. Right? In the name of love.
Everything in the name of love.
Yes, that's the thing. We are already lovesick. We are already lovesick. That capital L lovesick. We are already lovesick. In the name of love, I want approval from this person or from my parents. In the name of love, I want to look good in their eyes. And the interesting thing is, in the name of love, I will cheat them because I have to feed my family. Something like that. That also happens in the name of love. They say, everything is fair in love and war kind of thing. And in the name of love, I'll kill that person. In the name of love, I will, slander that person. And
Shout at you.
in the name of love, I can shout it, I can actually hit you. The more I hit you, the more I love you. That's what some people believe. I mean, that's what happens in some places.
And then if I am not able to do it, then it means I am not loving that person.
And so we have very abusive, complicated, weird definitions of love. And in the name of love, I will allow you to shout at me all the time. I will bear your brunt all the time. Because I know, I understand I love you so much that you are under so much stress. Okay, you said something.
I understand that's your love language.
Huh?
People say, अच्छा गुस्सा अरे नहीं वो उसके प्यार करने का तरीका है.
Huh. But that's a lot of BDSM. It's a lot of BDSM involved. You're having all those things tied. It's not physical, but it's very emotional and mental at the same time.
If this person doesn't, you're ready to be disrespected.
Huh.
And
If you
all the
love me, you will allow me to
name of
disrespect
love.
you. I will break you. I will break your heart many times. Right? And
As Shire, we romanticize that.
that's the ego.
रंजिश ही सही दिल ही दुखाने के लिए.
Please translate.
रंजिश ही सही दिल ही दुखाने के लिए. Come and give me pain, Even if you are coming to hurt me,
Yeah.
I'll still welcome you. You are like calling that
Because
person,
I-
even if you want to hurt me,
You
just
are
come and hurt me,
accessing
but
my
just
heart
come.
in some or the other way.
Yeah, you just want that person's
Only
presence.
what
You're so
you say.
attached to that person's presence.
I remember I was joking about a particular person because he was raised in a particular atmosphere, and I said that his mother has raised him like he doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. So if in future he's going to have a girlfriend or a wife, even if he kicks his wife literally in a very disrespectful manner, he needs that kind of wife who would say, "At least you touched me like that." There are people like that, and yeah, that's kind of sickness.
So there was a woman who has come for help to the Women's Commission and the chairperson told her, the victim woman, she was complaining about her husband who was sexually abusive towards her. Anywhere and every time he would want sex with the woman. So she came to the chairperson asking for help. So that chairperson right in front of me, she told her, just imagine तुम्हारा पति तुमको कितना प्यार करता है. She said this. And this woman got convinced and she left.
Convinced?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember watching I think it
How
was.
we normalize abuse.
Yeah. It was Miss World or Miss Universe, some kind of thing, 10-15 years back. I watched that, and there was this judge. She asked this question to a contestant. She says, she asked, what do you think about rape? What do you think about rape in a marriage? That was a very new concept for me. I was like, rape in a marriage? What do you mean by that? So of course, as I grew up, I realized, okay, it's about the consent. Just because you're married doesn't mean that you are sexually supposed to suppress your partner, whether you're a man or a woman, whatever it is. It goes both ways, not just one way. You cannot force your partner like that. It has to be consent.
Ownership.
Ownership. Ownership as an object. Be submissive all the time. There was one interesting insight that talking about relationship that came in one of our workshops these days. When in a relationship of standard two people, I have no judgment about there are troubles and people who do other things. I have no judgment. Don't get me wrong. I'm not into it, but I don't have judgment either. So if there are like two people and they are a couple, so the power play has to be something like this, you know. You remember that? I discussed about it. So A and B are couple. The A is 99% power, B is also 99% power. That one plays like a ball. So you give A gives 1 to B, B becomes 100. B dominates the play situation, whatever it is. At the right time, whatever that is, B releases that one person back to A and allows A to dominate the situation. So this is very beautifully explained in the Bhairav Tantra, where Lord Shiva is teaching to Ma Parvati, and then Ma Parvati is also teaching to Lord Shiva. And Vigyan Bhairav, they have like 112 techniques of meditation. So this is what is exactly going on. And we have forgotten our roots, we have forgotten our, like, this is supposed to happen like that, right? It's not supposed to be that simply because the husband is earning and you are not earning, that you are supposed to be submissive all the time. So 99, 1 is play. And when they are on their own, it has to be 100% on their own. Because if you do not enjoy your own company, how someone else will enjoy your company? Would you like to go and sit in a very clean, fragrant like flowery space, comfortable space, or would you like to sit in a place which is very messy, unclean, broken, uncertain, unstable? For some of you are going, wow. Unstable, wow, dominating, wow. That's what happens with the abused mind. You know, the neural pathways are so programmed with the abuse, you know, and so when they start dating, they're like, wow, it's like an attraction factor, instability, uncommitment, adventure, circus,
drama, melodrama.
Because this is what they were exposed to as what is relationship or whatever life to them is. If you see children who have very good self-esteem, it's because a lot of their parents work, you know, and then they end up with very harmonious relationships usually. But again, ultimate work is up to yourself, up to you. You are responsible for your life. Hello. So this self is very multidimensional. Now let's take a short break. We will talk about multidimensionality after the break. Thank you.